covering today is the passing of Dick Trickle. We have
Right.
some pictures out here in front of him, and so we're just gonna go through a few of them. I think at the end of the show, we'll do a close up of them. But here's a picture here of the Minnesota State Fair when he was there. It was 1973. No, I take it back. It was 1977.
7.
I was at the Minnesota State Fair. I just got a Minolta. It was 1977. I just got a Minolta camera, and I bought a 135 millimeter lens, so I had to take pictures. So obviously, I took pictures of my hero. This is a picture of the late Dick Trickle right here, and he was one of the most winningest stock car drivers in the country for many, many years. I think he holds many records. As the other picture you're seeing here. Another picture of Dick Trickle. It was the same day, 1977, at the Minnesota State Fair. Again, the car number 99, Dick Trickle. Always beautifully prepared race cars. Car was called as known as the White Knight. And so there's another great picture of his car. And again, we have another picture here. And this was taken at the 1977 Minnesota State Fair in the pits. Before the cars were going out for time trials, or the cars were being worked on, getting ready to run on the big half mile. As you can see, the car number 88, the Blue Knight, Tom Reffner is parked next to him. And then the car 90, or the car number 61, you can't see it in the picture, was a black car, Camaro, Johnny Begeman. He's parked further down to, I think he was parked down to the right. So all the three Knights were there that year. And then here we have a picture that I just picked up last year when we went to do a driver interview of Dick Trickle at Elko in the year 2012 when they inducted him, Johnny Begeman, and Tom Reffner into the Hall of Fame. It was fantastic. It's a day I'll never forget for as long as I live. Dan White and myself and Sue White went down to interview him, and it was a great day, great show. So we're gonna miss Dick Trickle, and but we got a lot of memories of him. So what do you have there, Ron?
Well, I'm just saddened to hear that a person died that a lot of people thought a lot of. And Dick Trickle was the kind of person that when you went in the pits, he'd say hello to you, and if he had the time, he'd give you an autograph. A lot of times you have to catch the drivers at the right time, because right before the race or right after we're at race, they're still pumped up, so they kind of have to go off by themselves. But Dick always seemed to be the kind of guy that gave you the smile, the pat in the head, gave you an autograph. That's not something we see very often, and that's really what we're going to miss. Plus the great driving that he did to win as many races as he did.
Well, one of the drivers that we met last year, and I don't remember the name of the driver, but he had run in a race at the State Fair against Dick Trickle. And he was telling us how he actually got by Dick Trickle in the race that was the Minnesota 300. It was ran on Labor Day at the State Fair, the last day of the fair. And he was telling us how he passed Dick Trickle. And here what happened was, the reason why he passed him was Dick was lighting a cigarette. And so he had to slow down a little bit to get the cigarette lit. And once he got the cigarette lit, well, he blew on by the guy. So apparently we found out from Dick that the race cars, the cars back then came with cigarette lighters, and by golly, his car had a cigarette lighter so he could light his cigarettes. I just find it amazing that he was able to smoke and race the car.
Well, look at the people now that can text and talk on the phone while they drive. I don't understand that either, but...
Well, driving and racing are two different things. This, and pretty intense, racing when you consider that you're racing on the edge, and then you have a guy coming up next to you where he's lighting up a cigarette, and I think that's pretty good. I used to hear about the drivers of the past smoking cigars and things like that out there on the track racing, and I can't imagine that either, so... things that I wouldn't do. I'd want to keep both hands on the wheel, and I have all I can do to, think when I'm driving down the road, or back when I used to race, I sure wouldn't have been able to light up a cigarette. It would have been way too difficult for me to do that. And I don't smoke.
Well, Curtis Turner used to be half bombed in the car. He'd come in the pits to get the tires changed, and he'd have a small cup of whiskey with Coca-Cola in it, and away he'd go.
And who was that? Chris Turner.
Curtis Turner, he was in NASCAR. He was one of the early pioneers of NASCAR.
Okay. It's probably like one of them old names like Smokey Snellbaker and names like that.
Smokey Eunuch.
Smokey Eunuch. That's
There
the
you
name.
go.
Yes. Okay.
John's getting old, folks.
I'm getting old.
He's doing the best he can.
Something happened to me someday. It must have been happened back when I was born. That was it. I don't know. But,
Well, it could have been.
yeah, I was told they dropped me on my head, but I'm not sure. So
And took bets on how far you could bounce.
right, yeah. My brother was special, but I wasn't. So
Okay. Well,
anyway, but anyway, again, Dick Trickle. He's not in our midst anymore, but we have many fond memories. We have many movies of him, and so we have great memories. He was a great guy, so I'm not going to forget him anytime soon. So
well, anytime you have a good athlete that dies, this weekend Ken Venturi died. He was a noted golfer. It's, these are people you see on TV. You probably never get to meet them, but you just feel connected. I mean, I've talked to race drivers that say, people come up and they act like they know me because they've seen me so much. And he says, it isn't that I mind. He says, I just find it funny that everybody knows me from watching television. So it's sad when we lose anybody. But when you've done the racing scene, is the 4 years we've done it, to lose somebody like him that so graciously gave us an interview, and he talked for a long time. It seems to hurt a little bit. So we miss Dick.